have for a thrill. We have stories of the dead coming back
to life, tales of the
night evil.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
The All-American Spookshow.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the All-American Spookshow podcast. I'm Josh, and as always, I'm joined by my friends Will.
Yay!
And the Professor Smoke.
Hello, hello, hello.
I guess we can start off by saying, like, kind of, there's been a slight delay in this episode. Like, we were trying to get this out, pretty much right at the time of St. Patrick's Day, but because of all this coronavirus stuff going on, we weren't able to get to it, like, right away, so we just decided to kind of, get to it when we could, but we still wanted to do it, so now we're finally able to sit down and knock it out. Has everything been going all right for you guys so far?
All things considered, yeah, as far as, what's been going on. Of course, I'd be able to lead in with, what have you seen in the theaters? Well, nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know how it is up there, but yeah, they're all pretty much shut down here.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're...
Same thing up here.
Yeah, they're done. But I think they're pretty much done nationwide. I mean, other than maybe like some independently owned theaters.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I think all the major chains are pretty much have closed up shop for a little while. So yeah, it's going to be a while before we're all able to go see some new movies at the theater. That's it might be months. I mean, I hope it doesn't come to that, but it's
yeah, I hope not. But
it's looking like it might. But we don't want to dwell on that too much today. I mean, I'm sure everybody's heard enough of the coronavirus shit to last a lifetime. So we're going to kind of escape from that just for a little while, and give you a little bit of entertainment, or at least get your mind off of it for an hour or so. And today we're going to be watching Leprechaun from 1993. Was this Jennifer Aniston's first movie?
That it was.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. Unless you
didn't...
count. I mean, I wouldn't count it, but I saw something about her being in Mac and Me as like a uncredited dancer in a random role or something. And
that is awesome.
In the scene, so that doesn't really count. But yeah, it was her first theatrical role. I think.
What I pulled up was her first feature film debut.
Yep.
So if for nothing else, it's this movie is specifically known probably for that. That the beginning of one of the bigger stars in Hollywood and television, Jennifer Aniston, got started right here. It's funny that there's a lot of big actors, big time actors that eventually 10, 15 years down the road kind of started their careers off in horror movies. I read an article one time in Fangoria that was kind of went deep into that, like pointing out where all these big stars kind of got their start in, horror movies.
And a good many of them can probably thank Roger Corman for that.
Yeah. It's funny, too, how some of them are like, oh, yeah, this is how I kind of got my start, and I had a lot of fun with it. And then other ones are like, I don't want to talk about it, like when we were talking about Gene Simmons doing, although it's not a horror movie, but like how he won't talk about Never Too Young to Die.
Oh yeah, and speaking of that, just to go back to that just for a brief moment, if anybody's looking at our Facebook page, probably might have seen that there was a post of a YouTube video that showed, was it Linda Carter that played Wonder Woman back in the 70s and everything, and a TV show called Encore, where she wore that dress, the scantily clad pink dress thing with the feathers or whatever that Gene Simmons wears in that one scene in the biker bar.
What the hell?
She actually wore that for a Kiss cover song 2 years before the Never Too Young to Die movie came out.
So he took it from Linda Carter.
Yeah. So he got that dress from her, I guess, or the studio, or however it came to be.
Yeah. He
got that same dress that she wore in that. Ironically enough, in the Kiss video. Well, there was some. If anybody saw that video, if you didn't see it on Facebook, I urge you to go on YouTube at some point after this, look it up, because it's pretty hilarious. The fake Kiss members, like they had people painted up like the Kiss members, and they were dancing around, very obviously not Kiss. It was good stuff, though. In a cheesy way, it's good stuff.
Yeah, we'll have to get the link, and we'll have to share it, and maybe put it in the show notes here so you can check it out. So
I'd say another reason why people would know this movie is because of Wayne's World.
Oh
yes.
I wouldn't know why. I don't get the connection.
Me either. I just decided to throw out Wayne's World.
Oh yeah, okay.
The Leprechaun.
What? Stop it! Well, I mean, time frame though. When did Wayne's World come out? Come to think of that.
Well, it was on the when did it first air on? Was it Saturday Night Live? Right, it was a segment on Saturday Night Live before they made the movie out of it.
I mean, this movie came out January 8th, 1993, so it had to have been, at least them doing that had to have been after this, right? I mean, what are the odds that they do that before this movie comes out?
Looks like the movie came out in '92.
Maybe it was was it the first movie they did that, or the second Wayne's World where they did that?
I have a feeling it was the second.
It had to have been, because what the fuck are the odds that they do the Leprechaun bit before this movie comes out?
Yeah, it had to be like a tie-in with it or something.
Yeah, maybe somebody out there listening can correct
just
our
pulled
timeline.
it up. It's Wayne Worlds 2.
There you go. So that makes more sense, because that was like a year or two later, right? So, or after this, or when did Wayne's World 2 come out? 93 or 94? I know it had to have been at least no later than 94.
I think it's 93. Give me a second.
Because obviously it had to have been after the. I mean, it all makes sense. It had to have been late 93, early 94 when that came out.
93.
Yeah. So there you go. So this was still kind of fresh when they were doing that gag. And I think they were they done doing Wayne's World on SNL by the time once again the timeline's getting all fucked. Like, because remember obviously they did Wayne's World before the movies on SNL. Then I know there was at least at some point they kind of stopped doing it on SNL because of the movies, and then eventually Mike Myers and Dana Carvey kind of moved on to other things,
other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it ever came back as a segment after the movies or not.
Well, now I know they did from time to time.
Yeah.
Every once in a blue, like, they'd make a surprise appearance, as Wayne and Garth or whatever, but I just didn't know whether they were still on the show by the time this would have, were they permanent cast members by the time this movie, Leprechaun comes out, and that's a bit, I don't know. But
all right, so it looks like the first bit was in 89,
That's
and
about right,
it looks like it was pretty consistent multiple times in 89, 90, 91, 92, there were 3 hits of it, once in 93, once in 94, and then 2011 and 2015.
Yeah, so basically they kind of stopped doing it after Wayne's World 2, pretty much.
Yeah.
The Leprechaun!
I can't walk around with a flashlight or even hold a flashlight without doing that at least once.
Yeah.
I
think I've
if
even
there's anybody that I'm with that doesn't know that reference, and they just think I'm an idiot or whatever. But
yeah, I think I've even done that to my my 8-year-old, almost 9-year-old son, and he just looks at me like, "What are you talking about?" I'm not explaining.
And then he sat down and watched The Leprechaun with you, right?
Yeah.
He said, "Why did you subject yourself?"
Right after I sat him down and watched Rare Exports, but specifically the scene with the elves toward the end. Go back and find that Rare Exports episode.
I'm sorry to go back on that too. There's this guy that works at my Walmart, and I don't think I ever mentioned this in the other episode, but he unfortunately looks just like that Santa's helper thing from Rare Exports. Exact same beard.
You talking about one of the
beard,
elves?
The thinness. Yeah, the one that they dig up. Yeah, he does kind of
walk around Walmart butt naked.
I did. The funny thing was, I did try and snap a clandestine picture of him so I could send it to you. Never worked out though. I'm walking one way. He's like, "Oh, wait, no."
Yeah, they're always watching, so it's hard to catch them. Like,
that's right. It's hard. But I did try. At one point, I will. He's still there. So.
That's pretty good. Honestly, I'm pretty sure every other Walmart probably has a dude that looks like that walking around in there as a greeter or something.
Probably. The other creepy thing is the guy doesn't own a car, though. I've seen him walking miles to get to Walmart. He is one of Santa's helpers, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Quote unquote.
Well, he's one of the Rare Exports, so he's got to have a job in the off season. So he's a greeter at
Walmart
at a random South Carolina Walmart until Christmas time. Well, I mean, I guess since there's nothing really new going on these days, everybody's just kind of shut in their house and watching TV. I guess we'll just move on to the next segment here. I guess before we go into the background, Will, is this the first time you've seen this movie?
No. I actually saw it, I would guess, probably not too long after it came out. When I was a freshman in high school, I was dating a senior, and we all went to, a group of us went to her house that night, and we all stayed over the night, and we ended up watching Leprechaun.
That's it? I mean, you just sat around and watched Leprechaun and nothing else?
Yeah, that was it.
And then you had flashlights out. The Leprechaun.
Yeah. I guarantee that did
Unfortunately,
not
I
happen.
wasn't that clever.
I'm sure you were worried about other things, and instead of playing the Leprechaun joke.
I don't know, man. I was like 12 or 13 years old.
You might have been advanced. Who's to say? So that being said, you know, what were your initial reactions? I guess maybe back then, if you can kind of recall, like, did you enjoy it? Not what? I mean, what'd you think?
Yeah, I thought it was funny. Honestly, when I saw it, I'm pretty sure we started it at about 3 o'clock in the morning. So I don't think I was 100% there.
Do you, you probably didn't even finish it, or if it, you know, it just kind of
No, definitely finished it, and then I'm pretty sure I fell asleep in the recliner that I watched it in.
Yeah. And then you just wake up to the sound of the tape rewinding.
Or worse, I don't know. Remember the ones that had like a tone at the end of it? You know, it had like the bars and tone, but
Yeah.
maybe it would have bars or not bars, but it would have a tone. Like, yeah.
Or it would just stop, rewind, then cut all your shit off like automatically, and then you got no signal burnt to your screen.
No. It was weird. The girl that I was dating, she woke me up saying, "I'm the Leprechaun." That's why I consider this the scariest movie.
I can tell you,
ever
yeah,
made.
that'd freak you the fuck out if somebody woke you up like dead sleep. Yeah. Smoke, what about you? Obviously, this isn't the first time I know. I can be certain of that for you, but did you
I've
go?
never heard of this Leprechaun movie before.
Yeah, this little rare hidden gem. Did you go?
Nobody knows about it. They'll stay hidden.
Did you actually go to the theater and see this back then, or did you see this sometime
No, actually,
later?
I didn't. I don't remember what. I mean, I would have been. I would have been old enough to go see it by myself back then, I think, because it came out in '92, right? Yeah, I turned 18 in '92. I don't know why.
It came out January
see it
of
through.
'93, so.
Oh, in '93. Oh,
Yeah.
that's why then. I was in the Navy.
Oh,
Yeah,
there you go.
then, so.
You got
I
a
did not
good.
see that in the theater.
You got a good excuse. Thank you, sir, for your service.
Yeah, it's funny because I judge everything by that date of like basically high school graduation. As soon as I graduated, I went to the Navy. So anything beyond the summer of '92, there's like a big gap there as far as theatrical. Although I mean, we had the base theater and all that stuff, and to get some things on there. But
I was about to say,
I've
how
been
does
out
that
of
work?
seat various
How does that
times.
work when you're in the military like that? So do you get to see new release movies or?
well, once you get through, you go through boot camp. In boot camp.
Yeah, you're not doing any
there,
of that
not
shit.
doing
yeah.
anything at that point. Once you get out of there, you get stationed on whatever ship or base or wherever you're at. And at that point, you're kind of, unless you're if you're out at sea, then it's a 24/7 type thing. I mean, you get a little bit of sleep, and then you're back at it. There's no weekends. You don't get like Saturday and Sunday off on the boat. You're just working constantly,
Yeah.
unless you're getting your 6-7 hours or whatever sleep at night if you're lucky. But no movies or anything like that. Although, I mean, we did have a green room, and then I was known, of course, back then as like Smokey's got these crazy horror movies, and we'll pull that out and watch that after, Flight Ops or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my tapes on some of them. I didn't have my whole collection, but I watched stuff that way. And as far as new stuff, had to wait till you get in after you're deployed or whatever, you get back on the base. Then it's kind of like a regular sort of 9 to 5, weekends off kind of deal.
Uh-huh.
So at that point, I could go see movies or do whatever.
So based on that,
but there's big gaps of where I missed a lot of stuff though.
yeah.
that
So
was in
based
theaters while I was
on
out.
your own personal timeline, when do you think you probably would have seen this? Like sometime well after your stint in the Navy, or during that time?
No, I saw it when I was still in the Navy. I think I rented it because at some point, whenever it came out on video, I did have a video membership in Alameda, California, is where I was stationed,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember renting it from that video store. Would have been sometime probably whenever it first came out on video, and whenever I was in port to see it.
So when you saw it back
And
then,
it
what did you think of it?
Oh yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. It was, I was like well entrenched into the horror movies by then too. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I enjoyed it for what it was. His one-liners were. But I do remember watching that on the boat, renting it, and bringing it up there with a group of us. So it was entertaining. And Warwick Davis, he's by that time he'd already done how many things?
I've been like Return of wasn't he was
These-
Wicket, right? In Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, he was Wicked, but he did Willow. I believe,
Willow.
before that, too?
I'm pretty sure Willow. Yeah, was well before this. So he would have been a known commodity by then for sure.
Yeah.
Myself, man, I really don't. I mean, I know I've seen this movie. I know I have.
Mhm.
I just don't. I don't place it in the timeline of like when I saw it. I know I didn't go to the movie theater. My guess is probably my first view of this probably would have been on like a couple years later when it was on, playing on the Saturday matinees on the local TV, and I'm sure edited all to hell. So like, this is probably the first time I've sat down, watched it from start to finish in an unedited copy. To be honest with you, like, just
It
because
was pretty good too, by the way. I don't know how you. I don't know if you. We picked up the Blu-ray set a while back. It came with like all of the original Leprechaun movies. And,
yeah, I've
it
got
looked
like
pretty
a DVD set that I think it had all of them except for that newest one.
good. Yeah.
The Leprechaun Returns. This is the beginning of a franchise or series of movies that I haven't seen them all. I've only seen maybe like the first couple, to be honest with you. But there's 5, 6, 7, 8. There's 8 of these movies.
Apparently, the Leprechaun likes the hood.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know. Have y'all both seen that one though?
No, I don't think I have.
neither.
I mean, I know it's always been a
I've
joke,
seen
and I know
bits and pieces.
yeah, probably. Yeah,
We
that's
gotta
probably
wait
about
to-
my extent
We
of
might
it.
have to
but-
skip ahead and just do that one.
Yeah.
I mean, not soon, but the next Leprechaun movie that we do, we should just jump to that one.
Well, there's Leprechaun.
Doesn't he go back to the hood?
Yep. Well, that's what I'm about to go. So, there's Leprechaun, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun 4 in space, Leprechaun in the Hood, that came out in 2000, Leprechaun Back to the Hood, 2003. Then it went dormant for 11 years. In 2014, Leprechaun Origins came out, and then 2018, so this would have been less than 2 years ago, Leprechaun Returns. That Leprechaun Origins movie, I know for a fact, was like a WWE Studios release.
Oh yeah. I think
Somehow
I
they
did
got
see that one.
somehow they got the rights to the movies, and then apparently this newest one that came out in December of 2018, Leprechaun Returns, it was released by Lionsgate. So I guess WWE either pawned it off or gave up on it after the Leprechaun Origins.
Yeah, because I think Kane played the Leprechaun. No,
Yeah. No, it was a wrestler though. It was the Hornswoggle. The
Yeah,
wrestler.
that's right, that's
he
right,
was
yeah.
he was the leprechaun in that one. So I guess
Yeah,
somewhere along the line, Warwick Davis gave it up because I think he played in all of them right up until then. I think
yeah, up till that point.
Yeah.
And then I don't know who played him in the newest one.
Lyndon Porco as Lubadari the leprechaun. So maybe they gave him a name. I don't know what the hell. Lord knows you're eight movies in. I don't know if it's a reboot, if it has any connections whatsoever. I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, we'll get to those one of these days, I'm sure. We'll unfortunately
that
watch
Leprechaun
all
in
of them.
Space thing too. What year was that one? Because I don't know if y'all remember this whole. There was a whole everything in space for a while.
Yeah,
There was
that-
like Jason 10
Yeah,
and Outer Space and Future.
That was 96.
96.
I got Leprechaun 4 in space. It says here it came out in 1997.
Oh, okay.
Released February
That
25th,
probably was about
1997.
that time, yeah, when they were doing that.
Oh, you talking about Jason X?
Yeah, Jason X, and there was one of the Hellraisers is in outer space as well.
Yeah. Jason X came out November of 2000. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, 2001.
No. Here in the States, it came out April of 2002.
Oh, okay.
Jason X.
So it wasn't the same time period era,
Oh,
but there is something like a lot. Like it's time to go to space.
Yeah.
After this sequel, we're gonna go to space.
Although I will argue Jason X, not to get off on a tangent, is a lot better than some people give it credit for, at least in my opinion. But whatever. We'll get there one day.
Yeah, we'll get there one day. I mean, it's got some cool kills too. You can't
exactly.
beat. It's hard to beat that cryogenically frozen face explosion thing where you
No doubt. But yeah, we'll get to that one of these days.
Yeah.
We don't want to go too far off on that because we'll use up all of our good material.
That's right.
All right. So anyway, I guess before, we'll go ahead and go into the background, a little bit of the background of this movie. Leprechaun was released January 8th, 1993 by Trimark Pictures. Best I can tell, this is like one of the first movies that Trimark had released. Like apparently, I guess they just mostly dealt with TV productions and stuff like that up to this point. The total runtime of this movie is 1 hour and 32 minutes. And I think it moves along pretty quick. It doesn't drag too much. It keeps you entertained. Of course, it's rated R. And it's listed, at least on IMDb, as a comedy, fantasy, horror, in that order. Which is probably about right, It probably leans more comedy, fantasy than it does horror,
True.
I mean, what's the most horror, the biggest horror element of this is just the look of him, right? I mean, pretty much. other than some of the stuff that he does.
A couple of
like,
kills, I guess. Yeah, a couple of bloody kills.
It's not over the top gore or horror or anything like that. It's definitely a little more corny, But I think that's kind of obviously what they were going for, though. Like they leaned in on the comedy aspect of it. Best I can tell, this had a budget of a little under $1 million. So basically, give or take a few bucks. $1 million is the budget for this movie, which, considering how it turned out, it's pretty impressive. I mean, that's almost no budget, especially by this time frame, 1993. This would have been produced in '92. I mean, that time frame. I mean, by then there's studios that put big money into movies, so that's almost nothing. That's almost doing a movie for free. The box office, it made almost $8.6 million worldwide gross. Best I can tell, it was out for about 3 weeks in theaters. First 2 weeks, and then the third week it tailed off. So it played most of the month of January of 1993. It opened up number 9 that particular weekend. I'll run through the top 10 that week. Number 1, A Few Good Men. Number 2, Aladdin. Number 3, Scent of a Woman. 4, The Bodyguard. 5, Forever Young. 6, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. 7, Chaplin. 8, Malcolm X. 9, Leprechaun. And then 10, Hoffa. So
I've never heard of any of those.
One of those things definitely doesn't fit in all these movies.
Yeah, it was pretty scant for horror movies.
Well, at least in the top 10, for sure. There's not much
10,
not much going at this time. I can give it a quick scan through the rest of the top 20-something there, and I'm not really seeing anything. Nothing horror really going on at this direct moment. So it was kind of really the only choice for horror at the moment. At least
we'll have to break that down at some point. But there was a time when there wasn't a dry spell going around, or at least slasher movies were getting a bad enough rap that they had kind of backed off on them because MPAA was cracking down on how much blood guts they could have in a slasher movie. So
this had to have been around.
That's why they went to that comedy route, I think, too, for a lot of movies back then.
This had to have been around that time frame because I'm just looking at this list and there's nothing that of note horror wise, or even not even really too many thrillers. Really, it's mostly just dramas and comedies and cartoons. But yeah, I think still, considering that it was only out for a few weeks and a budget of $1 million, making $8.6 million is a pretty good return.
Oh yeah.
Not great, of course. It's not gangbusters or anything. It's not a blockbuster by any stretch, but that's pretty good. So this movie was directed by Mark Jones. Did anybody get any notes on Mark Jones?
I know that that was his first movie, was Leprechaun. Mm-hmm. And before that, I know he's known mostly. Actually, y'all probably grew up with some of these. He was known more as a writer before he took over the direction of Leprechaun. Mm-hmm. And like a lot of my, Saturday Morning Childhood shows he wrote episodes for, stuff like Super Friends, Captain Caveman, Scooby's Laugh Olympics, and was it Yogi? There was a Yogi one where he's in space. Speaking of space, Yogi's Space Race, Bangface and Heathcliff and Plastic Man. I mean, the whole list of
So some of the jokes and some of the sound effects and shit like that. Now you see where it probably comes from is his Hanna-Barbera cartoon background.
Yeah, and then like Leprechaun was his first feature film debut. And then 2 years later, I know I've mentioned this title to y'all before, that we've about to get around to doing it sometime, but he actually directed Rumpelstiltskin, which is very much in the same vein as Leprechaun. I don't know if y'all have seen that one before?
I don't think I've seen that one.
No, I mean, I've heard of it, but I don't think I've ever sat down and watched it. I don't think.
It's pretty much the same type of stuff. I mean, if you like Leprechaun, it's that same type of humor, and it's Rumpelstiltskin, and I don't know. Actually, I'm not even 100% sure who played Rumpelstiltskin then. I'd have to look it up. Maybe it was Warwick Davis, but I don't think so. I don't think he would have been doing. Pretty sure it wasn't. But it's that same vein of horror comedy with the folklore and stuff.
That guy's got a little bit of respect for me because he did a couple episodes of The Fall Guy.
Yes, he did. Yes, Fall Guy. He did like 24 episodes of The A-Team.
And he taught ladies plenty.
Wait, he wrote the song?
that would make him even more awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, and another thing that makes him awesome for me too is this is another personal favorite of mine. I don't know if it was in syndication that long or not, but y'all remember The Misadventures of Sheriff Lobo? I think it did for a little while, and then it just went away. I've never seen it beyond and not that I watch a whole shit ton of different channels before cable and all that stuff, but I remember seeing it in syndication. I remember seeing it originally when it aired. but in syndication on some stuff for a while too, and then it just sort of disappeared. But, it was a spinoff from another show called BJ and the Bear. I don't know if you remember that one, where Sheriff Lobo was in that one. He spun off on his own show. BJ and the Bear was like a truck. BJ was a truck driver, and he had a chimpanzee sidekick named Bear.
BJ and the Bear.
Good stuff, yes. But yeah, that show, I just remember my uncle loved that show too. So we'd get picked up from school, go over to his house for a little while, and then he always had that Sheriff Lobo show on. So that a bit of my nostalgic childhood for that show. But I haven't seen it since then. Never seen that one either, like released on. I mean, it could be, but I've never seen it in like any like Best Buy or Walmart for sale on DVD or anything.
It's been banned by all networks to show anymore. It's too bad to put it back on in reruns. Not even like MeTV or something would.
Although it's funny that this pops up, like not probably 3 or 4 days ago. I don't know if y'all saw what I was watching on. I was watching The Color Out of Space, that new Richard Stanley movie, H.P. Lovecraft adaptations. So I was looking back at some other H.P. Lovecraft adaptations from that same storyline, and The Curse that starred Will Wheaton in 1987. Well, it also had Claude Akins in it, and Claude Akins is the guy that played Lobo. So for some reason, there's 2 Lobo references that popped up within the span of a week, and I haven't thought about Lobo since God knows how long.
So there you go. If you were waiting for your Sheriff Lobo deep dive,
yes, there it is.
You've got it. That's what we do here on the Spook Show. So this movie stars Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun. You'd probably remember him the most from Willow. I mean, that's probably his one big, huge movie that he did. But he's been in tons of other stuff. He was in some of the Harry Potter movies, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that Ray Charles biopic Ray, Return of the Jedi. He was Wicket. I mean, he's been in tons of stuff, like going all the way back to, at least based on IMDb, with Return of the Jedi, he started in 1983, it looks like, was his first credited role as Wicket. So he kind of started off hot, really, I mean, in terms of like the stuff he was in, because he was in those 2 We Don't Talk About movies, the Ewok Adventure and Ewoks: The Battle for Endor. The ones that don't really exist. He was in both
they're
of
in
those.
that pile over there with the Star Wars holiday special.
Pretty much, yeah. I think it did get like a DVD release or something though, but I don't think
it did. It's
not
actually
canon.
good. I mean, compared to where holiday special, which didn't ever get any official release.
Just some other ones, just going through IMDb here. He was in Labyrinth, and pretty much all, like we said before, all the Leprechaun movies outside of maybe like the last couple that they made. He was also in the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. He's one of the pod race spectators in a couple of apparently 2 or 3 different characters in that movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. He's in the crowd, right? I think in the scene where Jabba's in the crowd too, and then when Jabba kicks flicks the little creature thing off that he's eating.
Yeah, except he's not playing Wicket, though. He's just kind of there as a different character.
Himself.
Yeah,
makeup.
How do you know?
What?
That just blew your mind.
You did. It's just like in that episode 1 where
he just grew that for he starts out. They start out bare. You know that, but Ewoks, they start out hairless.
Yeah.
By the time I got to Return of the Jedi, I thought he'd already come in with his full coat.
Right. I sir am an Ewok.
Wasn't he, wasn't also the Phantom Menace where E.T. was in it? Like wasn't that the Phantom Menace where they show like the Galactic Senate or whatever?
Yeah, I think so.
And you see all the aliens and the E.T.s down in the
that.
corner, or at least a couple of E.T.s, whatever the hell kind of alien E.T. it was. So yeah, anyways, this. Like we said before, it also stars Jennifer Aniston as Tori Redding. Of course, you would know her from one of the most popular TV shows of all time, Friends.
The A-Team.
What?
What?
Yeah, maybe that too. I'm not sure.
Hell, I think Friends was the next year, wasn't it? Right after, didn't Friends start in '94?
It's got to be around the same. Got to be around the same time frame.
It's pretty shortly after.
Yeah, according to this, it says 1994. So yeah, this would have been like right after that. Yeah, it looked like, just going through IMDb, it looked like she had been in, like you said, an uncredited role in Mac and Me, but a handful of like TV movies and TV shows. She was in an episode of...
She actually played Ferris Bueller's sister. I remember in that short-lived, like...
Oh yeah, the Ferris Bueller show. Yeah, I remember that, yeah. I remember that sucked, too.
Yeah, it did suck. It had to have been her biggest claim to fame at that time, I would think, because I think before that, like I said, it was just some random one-offs or whatever, uncredited role here or there.
Something about that concept that just didn't quite translate to television, I guess.
No.
She was in an episode of Quantum Leap.
Oh, she was. Oh, okay. Love that show.
Another short-lived horrible show called Herman's Head. You remember? Anybody remember that?
I remember the name, but I don't remember the show offhand.
Yeah, but clearly she got her big break in Friends, and then she went on to bigger and better things after that. Tons of movies, and everyone knows who Jennifer Aniston is for sure. We don't need to dive too deep into her background because there's no doubt about that.
They got lucky with her. Hell, they made that whole movie for $1 million, and like I guess a year later, in '94 or '95, they tried to get her. They couldn't even get her for that. For the $1 million budget would have been for her.
Wasn't she not too she's somebody's kid, isn't she? Like some producer or wait a minute. She was born in Sherman Oaks, California, to actors John Aniston and Nancy Dow. So apparently her parents were actors too. I knew there was something. There was some end she had, to kind of get in to Hollywood a little bit, give her some breaks for sure. I'm sure. This movie also stars Ken Olant as Nathan Murphy. He's the painter, the young buff dude that she kind of falls for in the movie. He's kind of the head guy in the movie. He would mostly be known for this, the movie Summer School.
Oh yeah, that's right. Shit, he was Chainsaw, wasn't he?
No.
Or no? Was he not?
Apparently, he played Larry. I don't know, something like that. I think he was kind of the young hunk kind of dude in the class or whatever. Okay. Or maybe he was a jock or something.
Narcoleptic, but they thought he was narcoleptic, but it turned out he was a male stripper.
Yep, you're right. That's exactly who it was.
That guy.
Yep. You jogged my memory with the male stripper part.
I just remember he was sleeping. He would always be sleeping in the summer school. Well, he's probably sleeping in regular school, and that's why he failed. And then he was in summer school and also was sleeping. They couldn't figure out. They thought he had narcolepsy or something. And then turned out somebody saw him. He was a male stripper at night, and that's why he was sleeping during the day. So. Oh yeah, Summer School. I could go on about Summer School. I love that. But I watched that movie I don't know how many times. And mainly because of Chainsaw and Dave too.
Yeah, they were like horror guys that like the horror makeup and shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in a number of TV shows and movies, television movies, and just kind of all around. And he still is active. Like he's been a producer in the late '90s and early 2000s. Looks like he's kind of gone back to acting a little bit more here in the last few years in some TV shows and stuff. But yeah, I'm sure those are probably the things you'd remember most from. It also stars Mark Holton as Ozzy. He's kind of you stop short of saying this dude's retarded, but
I know, he's not so bad, right? He's just kind of like
He's simple, I guess.
He's just I guess.
But the
kid's always trying to get him to it's like, oh, I'm gonna get you fixed. If we get this money, this gold, get you fixed, get your brain fixed.
Yeah, then there's a line later in the movie. Oh, you can't fix that.
Yeah, you can't fix his brain. I know, but he doesn't know that.
He doesn't know it. He didn't have a problem with it though. That's why, yeah. Like, what's wrong with my brain?
According to IMDb, he's got 46 acting credits. But really, the only thing that stuck in my head as soon as I saw the dude, and I couldn't get it out of my head, was that this was the dude that played Francis in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Remember the asshole that stole Pee-wee's bike?
Yeah.
I just couldn't see past that. I've seen Pee-wee's
that made the movie.
Yeah, when he chews that black tar gum or whatever, and the shit just pours out of his mouth. It's classic. Yeah, but he's been in a ton of things though. I mean, he's been in A League of Their Own. He'd be most known for that. Leprechaun, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Apparently, he was in The Naked Gun. Tons of stuff, and he's still active today. Not so much in. It looked like he took about as far as acting credits are concerned, he took about a 10-year break from '08 to currently. But he's doing some stuff now, some TV movies and stuff.
Rebranding.
And apparently, he plays Ozzy again in Leprechaun Returns, the newest one.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah. So he reprises the role as Ozzy.
Let's just jump straight to that one and see if he ever got his brain fixed.
Yeah, see if he had that brain operation, or if he ever shit out the gold coin that he. So that's why they brought him back, just to tie up that loose thread of I wonder whatever happened to that piece of gold. Leprechaun 10, Ozzy shits.
That could have been Leprechaun 2. No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ozzy takes a deuce. The little kid Alex.
The Legend of Curly's Gold.
Yeah, the Legend of Ozzy's Gold. The little boy in the movie, Alex, is played by Robert High Gorman. It looks like he's known for Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. That Mel Gibson movie, Forever Young, which, remember, we just named that one, I believe, when we were talking about, like, the movies that were in the top 10 this same week, so I guess it came out right at the same time.
And he was in number 9 and or whatever that was.
Yeah. He was 2 top 10 movies, man. He was riding high, and then nothing ever pretty much again. If Forever Young made him, then Leprechaun killed him.
Yeah, you can see it that way, too.
Yeah, instantly. Like, I'm on top, and now I'm on the bottom. Shit. He was also in the movie Leatherheads. I mean, he's been in a number of things. Looks like he hasn't really acted in anything, though, in the last 10 years or so, though. So maybe he's on to bigger and better things. Who knows, hopefully. But, yeah, he's in a number of TV shows and, over that time frame and movies and stuff. So a little bit of success. I guess, really, the only other one to mention would be the guy that plays Dan O'Grady, Shay Duffin. He is best known for this, obviously, and he was also in Seabiscuit, Beowulf, and The Departed. I'm sure these were smaller, character acting type roles because he's only got 35 acting credits, according to IMDb. So, and those go all the way back to 1976. So he's been in a little bit of everything. Television. He was in Raging Bull. I mean, just small roles in big movies. Clearly.
One of the things that I saw was apparently. I guess when they originally planned this, it was supposed to be more of a straightforward horror film, and Warwick Davis put in to make it a little bit more slapsticky, and Mark Jones agreed to it.
That's interesting too, because we were watching this and thinking like the one-liners in there. Like, I wonder if I don't know who. The script writing, like, it kind of makes sense now, though, too. Like, it probably wasn't originally written that way. Like, if it was a horror, it was more straightforward, none of that. I'm wondering who went in and put those, did they improvise or somebody write those, some of the one-liners he came up with?
I don't know. Like, the only thing that it goes on to add is apparently the producers had them go back and reshoot some things to make it more gory.
Yeah, I mean, because like I said, it's not over the top with the gore and stuff. So, I mean, I could definitely see them, like, let's add in, even though it's not, it's not entirely useful. Let's add in like him clawing this dude's face or biting this guy, or whatever. Just to
the eyeball scene.
Yeah, just to make it a little bit more. That was the only
gratuitous one I could think of that was like, wow, they went a little bit further than that one than they did in the other scenes. I could see that being an add-on for, I need to up the violence level a little bit.
As far as I can tell, the only writing credit on this is Mark Jones. So I mean, but I'm sure he just tapped into his cartoon background. All right, we need you to clown this up a little bit. All right, tap into that Hanna-Barbera vein. And go to town.
Yeah. You remember that one episode where Yogi was like, balancing on the pogo stick on top of Boo Boo's chest?
Yeah. that old chestnut.
Yeah.
I saw this. I just thought this was kind of random on Wikipedia. It says, leading up to the film's release, Trimark engaged in an aggressive marketing campaign, and they partnered with the NBA and the American Stock Exchange. And then after failing to secure, I guess, bigger corporate deals, they had a deal with individual franchisees of Domino's Pizza and Subway. So I guess depending on where you lived at that time, your local Domino's or your Subway must have had something to do with Leprechaun at that, in early '93. So that would have been kind of cool to see what they were doing with it. It came out on VHS. Vidmark released it on VHS in April of '93. So it wasn't very long. Like, that's a pretty short turnaround for back in those days, I'd say, right? I mean, like. It was out in January, and by the time April hits, it's already out on tape. So
yeah, that's very short turnaround. Yeah.
For those days, it always seemed like it took
short.
It always seemed like it took longer back then, for something like like you saw it in the theaters, it'd be like a year later. It always felt that way, at least.
Oh, it is the case in point, and this was actually something that took even longer for whatever reason. You remember, Howard the Duck. Mm-hmm. I don't know why that was tied up. But it seemed like it was a long time for that. That was one of those movies where I saw it when it was in theaters, and I was at that, age point where when the first time I saw it, I think I saw it twice in the movie theaters, and I thought it was hilarious. Mm-hmm. The joke and everything, I thought it was the funniest thing ever. And then when it came out on video, I had matured more, I guess. So when I rented, I'm like, why did I think this was all that funny? This is pretty dumb. Now I can watch Howard the Duck for what it is, but I just actually thought it was like one of the greatest things ever when I first saw it in the theaters. And then by the time it came out on video, I was like, what did I see? What's so great in this? I don't know.
You're
But
like,
it was held up for some reason. It was more than a year probably before it came hit video.
you ever see those videos on YouTube or whatnot that people put up of like where they interview somebody coming out of the movie theater? You know, like they just watched fill in the blank movie, and then they interview them coming out of the theater, and then they make fun of them for it like 30 years later. Like, you know, like episode 1, you know, universally, you know, most people don't like it kind of movie, but then everybody's coming out of, oh, George Lucas is the man. Star Wars is back, man. This is awesome. And then, you know, a few years later, everybody's like, what the fuck? This movie, you know.
I kind of liken that to fat. You know, like if you're really starving, like you're fucking hungry as fuck, you haven't eaten in like 2 days, and somebody gives you this piece of crap, great value, you know, saltine cracker or whatever, and you eat it, and you're like, fucking, that is the greatest cracker I've ever had. It's because you haven't eaten anything in like 2 weeks or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
After you've eaten, you've gotten your palate full, you know, and you come back and you're like, what the hell is this? This is crap.
So you heard it here.
Like
So you've heard it here, folks. Episode 1 is the Great Value brand of Star Wars.
There was one other thing I failed to mention on Mark Jones, and we were talking about his TV writing credits and everything. Did y'all ever see a series called Werewolf?
How long ago was that?
I guess he wrote some of those. And that was 1987, and it was only one season.
Yeah,
it was a great show. I don't know why. It's just one of those things that fell through. It just didn't pick up another season.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, because of that, it didn't get syndication because it was only one season. So it didn't really show up on other places after that. And it's supposed to be released on DVD back in like, I don't know, 2009 or 10 or something. I think Shout Factory was going to release it. And there was something to do with the music licensing. I don't know if it was the actual composer tracks or if it were incidental music or whatever, but they couldn't secure the rights, so they canceled it. But that was a great series. Somebody needs to figure that out and put that back out on DVD.
There's all kinds of shows like that only lasted like a season or so, or just didn't make enough episodes to go into syndication that just kind of get lost to time. Like it's on a year, maybe 2, and then it gets canceled, and then it just goes away forever because you know the DVD rights are held up, or you know one of these companies just stick it in the vault and don't care to release it. It would be interesting to see stuff like that put out. You know, at least especially now with all these streaming services like starving for new content all the time. You think one of them will come along and say, all right, we'll throw you a chunk of change to take this shit out of the vault and put it on there. It gives us something, you know.
Yeah. I ended up having to buy a bootleg DVD of it. That's what I'll do. I'll start Brian's bootleg streaming service.
Yeah.
I think I'll be in jail next week, but
yeah.
But I had to get that. But of course, it's not mastered. You know, they're not remastered. We're taken from whatever when it aired on TV and put on VHS and then transferred to DVD at some point. That's the quality I have of it.
It's like I saw like a while back. Like I don't know if this is still the case, but remember the Filmation cartoons? You know, like He-Man and some other ones.
Oh yes,
Filmation's Ghostbusters and all that. Apparently, I guess like after they shut it down, like at some point along the line, like some makeup company owned it, like like Revlon or some shit like that owned Filmation and you know didn't know what to do with it. I guess. I'm sure it's like they bought a company that bought a company that bought a company, and then what do you know? We own Filmation.
Ended up with
what the fuck are we gonna do with this? You know, I don't know if that's still the case, but yeah, I know at one point it was some weird makeup company, like in France or something, that owned Filmation. For you, the listeners of the All American Spook Show podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. I think pretty much all of us have done this at this point now. Like, you can go sign up, try it out for 30 days. They give you a credit for you to go get any book of your choice, you know, any audiobook of your choice. You go get it. Say you're like, you know what, I don't want to pay anymore for this. They let you keep that free book, which is pretty cool. I mean, because you know, most people, you know, would probably enjoy at least a few books on there. So, you know, this is your chance to use this audibletrial.com/spookshow to go get your free book, you know, and then you get to keep it forever and listen to it how many ever times you want to listen to it or whenever you want to listen to it. Some hot books right now I'll just kind of go down a few of the top 100 of mysteries and thrillers on Audible right now is The Boy from the Woods by Harlan Coben, Bearskin by James A. McLaughlin, Lost Girls, The Maine Murders by John Mills, The Eyes of Darkness by Dean Koontz, The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. The Wives by Taryn Fisher. I mean, there's a ton. I mean, Stephen King's The Outsider, which I think is one of his newer ones, is on there, and The Institute by Stephen King. Pretty much all of his books on there, and I've always heard those are pretty cool to listen to through Audible. You guys got anything recently that you've been trying on Audible?
No, I've mentioned I'm still going through whenever I get the chances to listen to it. Is that Star Wars, which one it was now, what the subtitle of it was, but it was one of the earliest in the timeline. It was the earliest Star Wars timeline novel. I'm still sliding through that right now. Got a little bit more time now, though, to do that. So
Yeah.
Bought The Shining, went all the way through that, and then I got Dr. Sleep, and I've already finished that, so I've moved on to Salem's Lot.
You liking that so far?
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one.
Or the Stephen King ones on there. There are all the ones, I guess they're all, of course, different narrators and everything, but do they have, some of those have background sounds and music things? Or are they straightforward? Okay.
Yeah. As far as all the books that I've read, about the only ones that have any background noise are Star Wars books.
It's funny, too, like, my experience with some audiobooks is how, like, it's just one guy reading it, and, like, he'll change his voice to be, like, a woman's voice and stuff like that. Instead of just getting a woman to do the woman's part, the women's parts. Just be some dude like...
No, I'm taking all that money.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's some readers that you can definitely tell the difference when you get somebody like an Audible reader or somebody that they that is actually has a good voice for doing that, and then you just go on YouTube and try and find a audio narrated short story or something by some whoever.
Yeah,
you can definitely tell the difference. And when you go to listen to that, because I've tried to listen to some before. I was like listening to the Audible stuff, like Lovecraft. Lovecraft's one of my favorite writers. You don't find a whole lot of audio stuff on him, so people on YouTube have put up their own. So, and there's some that are better than others, and some of those ones that are horrible are just it takes so much away from the experience of hearing the story that you can't even concentrate on it. You just can't even listen to it. So, it definitely takes a talent to do that, and to do it well enough that you don't really recognize it.
And then Junior.
Thinking back, like stopping at points where not stopping, run on sentences and things, and just whatever, or trying to make a voice change that's like so grating that like takes you out of the story.
So to go listen to a pro narrator do it the correct way.
That's right.
Download your free audiobook today and go to audibletrial.com/spookshow. Again, that's audibletrial.com/spookshow for your free audiobook. I guess with that, we'll go ahead and if y'all don't have anything else you want to add, we'll go ahead and dive into the movie itself.
Go.
All right, so the movie starts with you see the Leprechaun like counting his gold, and then a limo pulls up to like the front of a house, and then that's when you see the title Leprechaun.
What happened there?
What do you mean?
He's got his gold. Now he doesn't.
Yeah. Come to think of it, what the fuck? Maybe there's some director's cut laying around that explains or shows Dan O'Grady stealing the gold and how he did it. But no explanation. Just he's got his gold. All of a sudden now he don't. This limo pulls up, and that's where you see the title Leprechaun. And then you see Dan O'Grady. He gets out and like he's celebrating. He's like he tells his wife they're rich. What the hell are you talking about? Like, well, we got Leprechaun gold, and he shows her gold or whatever, and she says, shut up, you old drunk, I'll put on some tea, She's just completely dismissing him. So then she's in there like boiling a pot of tea or whatever, and then she hears a voice in a suitcase. She goes over, and then she bends, like unlocks it, and then like bends over, and then the Leprechaun jumps out, and then basically she's like, what the fuck? And then he pushes her down the stairs and she's dead. Then Dan comes back and he kind of chases him around with the clover. Like, I've got the clover, and they chases him around, and he shoots him. He shoots the Leprechaun and then like nails him inside of a crate, and then puts the clover on top of the crate, and then tries to like burn him up. But then in the middle of this, Dan has like a stroke and like, just falls out dead, I guess. Then it just says 10 years later. So this is where you're introduced to Tori, Jennifer Aniston, and her dad, JD. They arrive at this same house in North Dakota, and this is, like I said, 10 years later, so this will be 1993. So instantly, like, you establish that Tori is kind of a stuck-up, kind of a spoiled brat kind of girl. and she just hates the house until all of a sudden, like the handsome handyman, the guy that's come to paint the house, Nathan, he shows up and then basically like calls her a coward for like not liking spiders or something like that. So she's like, all right, now I'm going to stay. So it's a loose premise, but you just got to play along here. You know?
Man, if I only knew this when I was a young single man.
Yeah.
Making a very shallow claim.
Yeah. Just tell them they don't like
You always get the girl.
What are you, a pussy? You don't like spiders? All right, fine. Fuck it. Let's fuck. Let's get to it. Well, shit. I knew it was this easy. Now we're introduced to Ozzy and Alex. This is the little boy and kind of the grown-ass man that kind of acts like a kid. Slow adult, I guess we'll say. Ozzy. He's part, like, Alex is Nathan's brother, right? And Ozzy's kind of like their third wheel, like the guy that I guess they kind of take care of, and he's kind of around to help out, and he's always hanging with Alex. Then somehow Alex like shakes the ladder or something while Ozzy's up it or down it. I don't know what the fuck happens, but somehow Ozzy gets paint all over him. Then he goes inside the
Ozzy.
Yeah, wah wah, Ozzy.
That's part of the director's Saturday morning background. He's like, we need a Smurf because it was blue paint, right?
Yeah, it was. So let's put it on the slow adult. He goes in the house to clean up, and then he hears a voice like, what? And he goes down to the basement where he hears the voice, and then like as he leans over, like he hears it in the crate, as he leans over, he knocks the clover off, the 4-leaf clover off the top of the crate. And then the leprechaun is able to get loose. He like, what is he? He does something to him, right? Or maybe he just scares the shit out of him. And then Ozzy comes back upstairs and said, "There's a leprechaun downstairs," and of course they don't believe him. Why would they, right? Especially when the
Ozzy.
They're gonna get his brain. They're gonna get his brain fixed.
Yeah, they're gonna have
that
that brain operation. So of course they go down and they investigate and they see nothing, right? Then they come back outside and then a rainbow appears in the sky, and then Ozzy and Alex decide to go follow it, and they find like a bag of gold in the back of this like dilapidated old rusted truck out in the middle of the woods. So Ozzy's like, I think you're supposed to bite on it to see if it's real, and then somehow manages to swallow the coin.
Which they conveniently don't show.
Yeah, they don't show it happen, number one. Number two, it would probably choke him to death. But even if it doesn't, yeah, they definitely didn't show it. They didn't even get like a fake like chocolate coin to like gulp. Nope. You know, it's just like, oh shit, I just swallowed it.
There's a cutaway of the kid, and now I swallowed it.
Yeah. But they basically kind of agree not to say anything about finding the gold. Then it cuts back to...
Great, now, if you forget that brain operation, if that doesn't come out in the next shit you take, you're going to have to spend that money on that.
We're going to have to fix your butthole now, Ozzy. Quit swallowing the gold, you asshole.
You know, your coin purse.
What do you got, shit for brains now? It's horrible.
All right, so then we cut to the leprechaun. He's underneath the truck, and like Tori's over there messing with the paint or something like that, and then he's like rubbing his hand up and down her leg, and she's instantly, oh, Nathan, you know, ooh. Then it scratches her, and she realizes, like, when she turns around and sees that Nathan's standing over there and it's not him, she's like, what the fuck? And it scratches her. They just think it's a cat. When like the dad comes over, he's like, it must be a cat, because they hear a cat over in the bushes or something. So then JD, the dad, he reaches into like a log or something like that. Come out of there, kitty. Come on, kitty. And then of course it's the leprechaun on the other end, and it bites the shit out of his hand. So then they're like, oh shit, we got to take him to the hospital. So they jump in the truck won't start. So of course, what do? You get the little boy to jump out and fix the truck. And then he opens up the
distributor cap. I knew it. Put the distributor cap back
and then
on.
he does.
He can't even hardly open the hood.
And then he does nothing. Like he literally opens the trunk or the hood.
Wiggles the wire.
Wiggles some wires. Like, all right, here we go. And then it starts up. There's just this jumble of wires in this old beat up truck that he just wiggles it. Yep. That was the distributor cap. Let's move it. So they take the dad to the emergency room. And, of course, the leprechaun is chasing them, but he's on a little tricycle, like, going really fast. So, that's the other thing, too. Like, all right, so I'll say, from this point forward, you don't see the dad ever again until, I think, the very, very end of the movie. You see him very briefly if you're looking, you know, he's there. Otherwise, he's out of the movie now. So this little bite on his hand takes him out for the entire movie. Like, he has to stay overnight in the hospital because he has a bite on his hand. I guess it was just the best way they could come out to get this guy. Like, he could only come out for one day of shooting or something.
Yeah.
And
we don't have enough budget. We already put all the money in the makeup effects and everything else.
yeah, we put so much money in Ozzy that we can't have this guy here. So he's got a bite on his hand. He's done. So anyways, they take him to the ER. He's done. And then the leprechaun's chasing him on the tricycle. Then Ozzy and Alex, while they've got him at the hospital, they decide to go over and to this small one stoplight town has a fucking coin shop, and they go over to the guy and ask him what do you think this coin's worth or whatever. He's like, I don't know, let me keep it overnight to take a look at it. All right. So they leave, and as he's looking at it, the leprechaun jumps out and attacks the shop owner, and then, as referenced earlier, kills him with a pogo stick. Now it almost looks like the pogo
I'm trying
stick
to think
is
of the
sharpened.
song now too. I can't think of the little ditty he was singing.
I don't recall.
It'll probably come.
Yeah. The funny thing is too is that like it looks like it's sharpened almost in like a couple of those like little cuts, like the little back and forth edits. Like it looks almost like it's sharp and then it doesn't. It's weird. You just have to go back and look at it.
Well, the thing that I find funny in that scene is, here, do you mind if I keep it overnight so I can do some research? And then 5 minutes later, he's looking in a book. You couldn't have done that while I was standing there?
Yeah. And he just happens to have this book on old Irish money sitting around, and he knows instantly to go to that.
Where did I put my Leprechaun Gold book?
Yeah, maybe it's because Ozzy said something about a leprechaun or whatever, and the guy just looks at him. Maybe that's why he's maybe I'll go look at this Irish book, but what are the odds, right? So yeah, he's killed with a pogo stick. So then like he leaves after this, and he's riding in a little tiny car. Where the fuck he got this? I guess it's magic, right? He's riding in a little tiny...
that car, it was, I think that was that shop owner.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know why the shop owner had it.
Okay.
But yeah, he's like, after
I didn't even notice that, yeah.
Rubbing on, like, oh yeah, this will do nicely.
So he's in a tiny car, and then a cop pulls him over. And the cop, I guess, kind of thinks like he's a little kid, but he's definitely not treating...
somebody in a mask or something.
Yeah, but he's definitely not treating him like a little kid if he thinks it's a little kid.
He, like, kicks the car. Come on out of there.
Yeah, come out of there, you little shit.
Take off the damn mask.
So then the leprechaun, like, grabs a hold of his face, like, claws in his face. And then there's, like, this, kind of a long scene where he's chasing him around in the woods, and the leprechaun's like appearing in the tree and over here on the left and right, using magic to appear everywhere. And then the guy's like, just leave me alone, and sits on the ground. And then the leprechaun falls on top of his back, grabs a hold of his neck, and snaps it. Then there's a couple goofy one-liners or something in there that I don't recall.
That's actually the last kill in the entire movie. There was only 4 deaths in the whole thing.
So who dies? The wife or
the old man? Well, actually, no, I'm wrong. There's one more death, but there are only 4 in the movie. The old woman.
Yeah, the O'Grady. The cop.
The shop owner.
Yeah, and the
cop.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guy O'Grady. Later on in the hospital, or
when they go visit
old folks' home.
Yeah, you're right. And none of it
pretty low count.
And none of it's especially gory, like we said, until you get to the eyeball scene a little bit here in a little bit. That's about it. So yeah, he snaps this guy.
That kind of begs the question too, though. Like, it was supposed to originally be a straightforward horror movie, and they had to add a little bit of gore for that. So, damn, if it was going to be a straightforward horror movie, it had pretty scant death, body count.
Yeah.
Unless they change that all around, as far as the number of deaths and everything.
Like we always say, there's got to be a director's cut lying around somewhere that's got...
Yeah. Or that script, too. I'd like to see that original script, like how it was, written.
Yeah, some working print that's got it right. So anyways, after this, he goes back to the O'Grady farm, and he's looking for the gold, and he's looking through the cabinets, throwing food everywhere, and then he finds a box of cereal. It's not Lucky Charms, it's Lucky Clovers.
And there was a whole thing on that, by the way.
Oh, on what do you mean? Like they couldn't get the rights to Lucky Charms?
No, they actually did get the rights to the Lucky Charms. Hold on, I'm pulling it up. All right, so once they required Leprechaun to find and eat Lucky Charms cereal, General Mills gave them permission, but were so upset when they saw the finished product that they made them they revoked the permission. They had to reshoot it with a spoof, and that's why, like, you hear later on, them saying like "fuck your Lucky Charms" and so on and so forth.
Oh yeah. Nice. That's nice.
Good old box of Lucky Clovers. I just figured they got it at Walmart. You know, it's the Great Value.
Yeah, because the Great Value connection.
Yeah. And then like he brings all the shoes into the kitchen and like has to shine all the shoes. Like he has this like. He's almost OCD about like having to shine the shoes, but he's shitty at shining shoes, right? Say that 3 times fast. He's horrible at it. He just kind of like picks it up and goes, hey, shiny, shiny. Gives it like one brush and sets it down, like he keeps doing this. He's not really doing anything, but whatever. So then, of course, they all come home after, they've left the dad at the hospital because like his hand must be so bad that it's about to fall off. So they left him there. And they come home and the house is a mess, or the kitchen is a mess. There's food everywhere and all the shoes are sitting on the kitchen table. So then they hear like a bike bell ring. So Nathan goes and investigates, or he goes outside and he's investigating, and then he gets caught in a damn bear trap. And this is finally when the leprechaun actually reveals himself. Like, now you have to believe it, right? Here he is. He's revealed himself. Then they all come running and they fight the leprechaun. Ozzy runs in and calls the cops, and of course they don't believe him. Like, what was it last week, Charlie? Aliens? They don't believe Ozzy.
By the way, did you notice in that scene, like the police chief or whatever, like it was like a big reveal for him. Like they purposely like had his back to the screen for what seemed like way too long. I was like, what? Who's this going to be? Burt Reynolds?
Yeah. Sheriff Cronin was played by William Newman. He was in For Love of the Game, Mrs. Doubtfire, The Mosquito Coast, whatever the hell that is. This is a Harrison Ford movie. I've never heard of it. The Craft. He's been a character actor in a ton of things. Like, I remember seeing the guy in other shit. Like, I've seen that dude for sure. But yeah, as far as a big reveal, like, that went over like a fart in church. It's kind of. Nathan's in a straight up fucking bear trap. I just thought it was hilarious. Like, it was funny when it happened, and I'm sitting there laughing. Like, he just randomly steps into a bear trap. Then you realize like the leprechaun had done it, but I was thinking at first it was something like Ozzy had done, I thought that would have been much funnier. Like, Ozzy, he just set a bear trap out there and the motherfucker didn't step in it. By the way, too, like he steps in it, right? Does he fall into it? Because it's like halfway up his halfway up his shin.
A weird trip.
Yeah, it looked pretty painful because it looked like his knee hit it. Like it would have snapped on his knee or something.
I mean, it's going to hurt either way, right? But you think if you step in it, it's going to catch your foot. No, it's like halfway up his leg. But I guess you're right. Like he does this like kind of shitty pratfall into it.
And fell into it.
Yeah. And then, of course, they get into the truck and it won't start. Then
distributor cap.
Yeah, it's that damn distributor cap. Alex gets out again, opens up the
Look at
hood.
those wires.
He opens up the hood, and then the leprechaun's inside the engine, like fucking it up. Like, ha 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 ha. Then he jumps up on there and then busts the windshield and then goes straight for Ozzy's ear. Just bites Ozzy right in the ear.
Well, I think he told him he would take his ear, like down in the basement.
Well, he's nothing of truthful, this leprechaun. So he goes and bites Ozzy's ear, and then Tori fights him off by like taking out the little cigarette lighter and burning him in the face, and you'd think it'd be like ow, and then just move away. No, like he grabs a hold of it and holds it onto his own face. Then he makes like a little car, like a little motorized cart thing with a pitchfork on the front of it, and like rams the side of the truck and flips that motherfucker. I guess this is where the magic comes into play again, right? Then he chases them into the house, and they slam the door, and the door chops his hand off.
As doors do.
Yeah, as a slam door is wont to do. It chops his damn hand off, and then of course the hand does like the Addams Family thing, where it crawls back to him. But there's no there's no payoff scene there where like you see it attached back to his hand or his arm or anything. It just kind of crawls back to him. Meanwhile, so like he's standing at the right, they slam the door, it chops his hand off, right? The thing crawls up the door, opens the door, then comes back to him. So the leprechaun has an in right there, right? The door is open, but he just kind of stands there and goes, And then they cut to the next scene. Like, you'd think if he's chasing after them, he would have run in at that point, but no. Once again, putting too much thought into this movie, as we always tend to do. So then Tori, this time, like, she has like an old school, cell phone, the flip phone. She calls the cops, and of course it goes dead like midway through. But she hopes she got through enough. But then the cops like put out the call, like, all right, we got to call at the old O'Grady farm, going out. And then it's the Leprechaun inside the cop car. Remember, he had killed the cop earlier. He's responding in like the cop's voice. So they don't think anything's wrong, and then meanwhile, all the people think, Tori and them think that the cops are coming. Then finally, Ozzy and Alex spill the beans about finding the gold or whatever. So then Tori's like, what? They're like, what the fuck? We need to get this gold and give it to him so he'll go away. So Tori goes outside, and then they tell her where it's at. It's down in the bucket in the well. So she cranks the bucket up, and there's the bag, and then he appears, and she gives him the bag, and then he's thank you, and then runs away. And then he literally goes and counts it, and he realizes there's one piece missing. So now he's still coming after him. They're sitting there like, well, I'm glad that's over. Let's get our shit together here and get Nathan to the hospital. And then he leaps from the refrigerator, the Leprechaun, and on the top of Alex. And then they chase him around the house, and they shoot him multiple times, and he gets up every time. Which at this point, why would you even shoot this thing anymore, right? Like, you realize like it's not going to keep him down. I guess you got to do something, but I think I would get the hint. Like, fuck, I got to think of something else. I can't. Shooting him's doing nothing. So then they pull the old Nightmare on Elm Street bit where Tori's on the phone, and then a hand comes out of the receiver.
The smallest hand ever.
Yeah. Well, he's like, here, you need a little hand. Here's a little hand, and then a little fucking hand appears coming out of the phone receiver. It's like the old Freddy bit with the tongue. I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy. Yep. Then he's like, wait a minute, I know who might know how to take care of this. Old man O'Grady. He's in the rest home. He had a stroke about 10 years earlier. So then that's when you realize, like, at the beginning of the movie, Dan O'Grady didn't die. He just had a stroke and went to the old folk, or into the rest home. So then, like, their plan is to distract the Leprechaun with shoes. So Ozzy and Nathan go out and Tori go out and they start hooking shoes. So the Leprechaun's like, oh, I gotta shine them up. And Tori's able to get in the Jeep and get away while this is going on. But then, of course, he's following.
By the way, would you throw your whole load all at once?
Yeah, you think you'd throw them the opposite fucking way, like as far as you could that way, instead of about 2 feet in front of the Jeep.
Yeah, it's like they're tossing it right to him, like, here you go.
Yeah, here you go, man, catch this. Well, I mean, go over there. Go deep. But this actually works. They managed to occupy him enough to where Tori can get in the Jeep and take off. But then, of course, he appears and he's on skates. And he's like on the back of the Jeep, and she cuts a corner real quick, and he flies off and goes through a fence. Once again, Hanna-Barbera cartoon style. There's a leprechaun-shaped hole in the side of the fence where he goes through it. Then he gets back on.
I'm really surprised we don't see those in baseball games.
What, like somebody going through the fence with a man-shaped hole?
Yes.
In the outfield wall. This is where I'll also point out, because I'd noticed it a couple of times, at least once before this, and now this is the second time. When Tori gets to the hospital, or the rest home, and she's going in, like she's going up some steps or something, they do another close-up shot of her shoes, the LA Gear. LA Gear must have spent a pretty good chunk of their budget, their $1 million budget, to get their shoes into this movie, because they keep focusing in on Tori's LA Gear shoes.
They go to make this movie, and it's just like, yeah, we'll give you like a couple $100,000. God, where are we gonna get the rest of the money? LA Gear.
All right. I've got it. LA Gear. And regional franchisees of Domino's Pizza and Subway.
I'm surprised they didn't throw like one of the shoes was a LA Gear shoe that didn't have a close up of him shining it with the logo.
Yeah, like ha, yes, it's right in his face with a rainbow coming out of the end of it.
Yeah. And he goes into a little diatribe that rhymes
with LA Gear.
With LA Gear.
Yeah.
Have no fear, I got me LA Gears. So she goes to the rest home to find old man Dan O'Grady, but she goes into the room and he's talking, but then he turns around and it's the Leprechaun. So she runs and gets into the elevator, and then Dan O'Grady falls from the ceiling of the of the elevator, And she's like, "Oh my God!"
To deliver his final word.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh my God, let me help you." No, it's too late for me now. No, clearly I can help you.
Hanging from a goddamn elevator.
Yeah, clearly just let me help you. I can help. No, don't worry about it. I'm done for sure, little lass. But then he tells her about 4-leaf clovers, and that she needs to go find like a freshly plucked clover from the patch over near the well back at the farm, and then he dies. So he stays alive long enough for that exposition, and that's it.
You can just imagine him sitting up there waiting for her to come in, just
hurry up, hurry the fuck up.
God. What if she took the stairs?
Yeah, that'd be about right. So his only function really of this movie is to tell you how they're going to defeat the Leprechaun.
Well, and to bring the Leprechaun over.
Yeah, well, to bring him here and then tell you how to kill him. So then she goes back to the farm and she starts looking for a clover. And then he catches her, like, what do you look, pretty lass like you shouldn't be looking for clovers. Ha ha ha. So she runs away, and then eventually she finds the cop car, and then realizes that the dead cop is in there. Then the Leprechaun, she's in the cop car, the Leprechaun comes up to the window, and then she takes, like, the billy club and stabs him in the eye with it. And then he pulls it out, jumps in, and then pulls the dead cop's eye out to replace his eye that she had just poked out. Once again, like we said, this is literally probably the goriest scene of the movie for sure.
Yeah.
So then they go back to the farm. Nathan shoots him, and then that allows them enough time to look for a clover, or they start looking for a 4-leaf clover. Alex, the boy, he comes. Like, they've had him like hid up in the house for a minute. He comes back out and says, "I'm not afraid. I'm going to catch him." So he sets the bear trap up in the barn, but then you see that the Leprechaun is in there. You cut back to Tori and Ozzy and them. They're looking for the clover, and then Tori finds one. It's funny too. Like Ozzy's like, "Don't give up. Don't ever give up on your dreams." And then I'll give up. And then she just grabs a handful of shit. And then all of a sudden, there's like a light on her hands. Like, oh, there's the clover. And they even do like the magical ring around the clover. So then Leprechaun attacks Alex, and then they all show up. And Ozzy tells Leprechaun that last piece of gold they're looking for is in his belly. So then he runs, and then Leprechaun chases after him, and he catches a hold of him and takes off his belt buckle and starts cutting the shit out of him, just like slashing him up on his face and whatnot. Then Alex comes up from behind and wraps the clover, I guess, around a rock or something, or a piece of gum or whatever the hell it was. And then he comes up behind him and says, "Fuck you, Lucky Charms," and then slingshots the clover right into Leprechaun's mouth. So then he starts to, the typical horror movie way of like melting and fire and light shooting up everywhere, and then he falls into the well. And then, of course, once again, another thing that you always see in these movies, he comes back up, and then Nathan just goes over and like knocks him back down into the well, pours gas down in there, and then it just fucking blows up. I didn't realize that just pouring some gas down in a water well would blow it the fuck up.
Oh, you've never done that?
Man, we used to do that
all the time as a kid.
Man, I just call that the 80s. I mean, we did it all the time. By the way, before we finish this up, this is a very 80s movie, isn't it? Like for a movie that came out in 1993.
It is.
Very 80s.
I mean, hell, L.A. Gear, I know L.A. Gear went in the 90s, but L.A. Gear is like, you see that and you're like, 80s. But
yeah.
apparently they were still climbing.
I guess they were still trying to cling on by 93. They're still a thing. So then the fucking well just blows up. And then, of course, as always, the cops finally fucking arrive once the shit's over with. Then they kind of, that's when I pointed out that right there, when the cops show up, the dad gets out of one of the cop cars and like runs over to him. So that's the only other scene you see the dad, is that very little bit when he gets out of the car and runs across. So then it focuses in on the well. It's on fire. There's a cop standing there. And then you hear the Leprechaun say, "I'll not rest till I have me gold. Curse this well that me soul shall dwell, till I find me magic that breaks this spell." And then the end credits. So there you have it. That is Leprechaun from 1993. We definitely need to watch some of the other ones in this. Maybe this will kind of be like our new series that we dip back in and out of here, over the next year or so. We'll just kind of dip back into the old Leprechaun well and pull another episode out from time to time, because it was a lot of fun to watch. Will, what's your star rating on this?
I thought it was pretty good. It was a fun watch, so I'll give it a good 3.
All right, Smoke.
Yep. Actually, that echoes my sentiments with this movie too. It's always good. It's fun to pull out every once in a while around St. Patrick's Day or whatever, and give it another watch. And doesn't necessarily get any better for me every time I watch it, but I mean, it still doesn't get any worse either. So I give it solid 3 for me as well. 3 clovers.
I'll give it 3 4-leaf clovers. I've confused the issue.
Is that 3 or a 4, or is it a 3 3/4? What is it? No.
Me don't know.
3.
Leprechaun's not good with math.
But they can count.
Counts me gold.
Counts me gold. I'm going to stop short of giving it a 3. I mean, I definitely enjoyed it, and it's a lot of fun, but on my scale, I'm going to say 2.5. It's fun for what it is. You know, it's kind of like Critters or something, right? You know, and I think I did see that Critters was kind of an influence on this when he was writing the movie. You know, in the sense of like he wanted it to be like this little small creature that's causing all this chaos. It did feel very comparable to me in a lot of ways. It's a fun movie, like you said. You know, it's probably not one that's going to get better every time you watch it. It just kind of is what it is. It's cheesy, you know. So, but I enjoyed it. So I think I'm going to go with 2.5 stars. So I think overall we all definitely recommend checking it out. Like you said, pull it out around St. Patrick's Day, or you know, just whenever you feel like watching something goofy and fun to veg out for a little while. So I guess you guys got anything to add for Leprechaun before we dive into what's going to be next?
No, I think that covers it for me.
Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right, so for the next episode, we're going to get a little more current. We're going to go back to 2003, and this is something that's very topical for sure, you know, with what's going on in the world right now. So we've figured we'd try to maybe have a little bit of fun with that. And we're going to be watching 28 Days Later. The IMDb synopsis is, 4 weeks after a mysterious and curable virus spreads throughout the UK, a handful of survivors try to find sanctuary. So that's a nice little simple way to sum up what this movie is about. It was directed by Danny Boyle. It doesn't have a lot of huge actors in it. I mean, it mainly stars Cillian Murphy as the main character. But if you haven't watched that, if for whatever reason you haven't watched that at this point, you know, go check it out. Like I said, it's very topical for the time, somewhat. I mean, that's being a little overdramatic to say this is what's going on in the world right now, but
yeah, that's true. Does have to do with the viral outbreak.
Yeah, I mean, it's comparable in some ways, but maybe not most. You know, enough. Like I said, enough
not
that
as bad. So.
Yeah, enough that.
Well, you got
have fun.
You got the disease of rage versus Rona.
Yeah. Oh, Rona. So once again, we don't want to make light of the current situation, but it's a horrible, horrible thing. But you know, we can have fun, you know, just for a minute, like we did with this episode, and you know, something to kind of veg out and listen to for an hour or so, and just have some fun, you know. And but this is a really good movie too. That being said, so go check out 28 Days Later. So, guys, I guess that's it for this episode. So, as always, I'm Josh, and for Will and for Smoke, this has been the All-American Spook Show. We'll see you on the next episode, guys.